Everything is happening through these screens.
How are we getting the most out of that person?
I want to see this thing grow long term.
Amazing story. You have such a unique perspective on that.
Schedule a 2-week vacation.
I applaud those models.
Undervalue.
Secure your digital footprint as well.
Why were they even put in place in the first place?
Only the most adaptable survive. Let's get to the leaders list. Manual processes might work when you're small, but they don't scale. They burn out your team, they frustrate your clients, and they bury your business in inefficiency. That's why the whole idea of manual chaos to automated clarity belongs on your leaders list. And that's also why you should pay attention to Hoyt Mann of Alanna AI. Hoyt's been helping title companies and escrow companies streamline their operations using conversational AI. He's not introducing automation for automation's sake. He's introducing clarity, speed, and a unique closing experience that people actually enjoy. I'm Bryon Morrison. Let's get to the leaders list. Hoyt Mann, thank you for being on the leaders list. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. Honored to be here.
We appreciate it. Listen, having you on, there's no organization that I talk to and no CEO that I talk to that isn't thinking about AI. And as the president and co-founder of Alanna AI, I think you're going to bring some incredible insight to the listeners on the show. So let's kick off with you telling us just a little bit about Alanna and how you got into this. Because it's, as every entrepreneur, we're like, why on earth? So tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. So why Alanna? I've been in the software industry now 30 years, and I started off realizing that customer service, and I was a software engineer at EDS here in Dallas, and I found that customer service was a key component of my role as understanding the needs of our customer. And when I first started, and that passion for the customer connection has never left. And through each of my different entrepreneurial endeavors, it's always had a customer service function around it. And so getting to that point, I saw that over 25 of those 30 years, that the traditional ways of providing customer service and support, they were tried and true. Everybody was doing them. But as AI was coming to the scene in 2018 was starting to be a bigger deal. Having a relationship with IBM and the Watson team, they're providing some services that we could adopt and then apply to a business need that we saw in the marketplace. So IBM is a great company. I like their philosophy. They don't release products; the products escape. So one of their escape services, the Watson service, we integrated with some of the background that we had and provided a virtual assistant to title and escrow companies around the country. This idea of creating Siri or Alexa for a business to provide customer service and at a different level with a different lift. It was really revolutionary, almost too revolutionary, to a point to where the adoption curve was quite slow. But thanks to people like OpenAI and everybody else putting effort into the AI scene, the last few years have really been great for us and given us a lot of traction and again, more comfort for people to adopt AI technologies in a less than scary way. So
yeah, and Hoyt, so you mentioned the fact that you're a serial entrepreneur. So you've been in big corporate, and you learn from one of the biggest and the best, and then you decide. What inspired you to decide to go out on your own, though?
Yeah, being part of a big organization, it's great. You have a lot of resources, you have a lot of structure, and it's a great place to, I guess you could say, hone your craft, to really get better at doing a lot of things that you hadn't done in the past. But there comes a time to where, at least somebody like myself, is that I've always had a passion for business. I graduated from University of North Texas with a business information systems degree. And so I've always had this balance of of application development and business, and it's just been a passion of mine. So you get to a point where you're like, I really want to build something that is a lot of times ahead of the curve. A lot of companies cannot pivot, they can't adopt tech as quick as small companies can. And so that's where I think entrepreneurs thrive, is they can see opportunity and they can apply some of the latest and greatest technology to business opportunities, and really provide a valuable service that most companies are 12 or 16 months behind being able to adopt that kind of a service.
Yeah, that's the exciting part, right? About being an entrepreneur is you can pivot, you can change, you can expand your services quickly, you can try new things. Big companies, they have to, a lot of times they wait for you to do that, and then they'll, that's why they buy the company, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Like I said, it's just great to be a nimble, small company to where it's me and my co-founder, Randall Nelson. And we make decisions within one of our offices, and then we execute. And the thing about execute and delivery is the key to success, in my opinion. It's listen to your customers, execute, deliver on a very rapid pace, and provide excellent customer service, because that's the key of it. I mean, you can be in that customer service game, providing services or software in that game, but you have to lead by example. And that's kind of a core principle I have in my life, is always lead by example. Do it first, let your actions talk, and the rest follows.
I love it. I love it. So tell me a little bit about the stage of Alanna AI. You've been in business, I think it's about 7 years. Is that right?
Yeah, we're finishing up our 6th year right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
6 years.
yeah.
Okay. And so how many employees do you have? What stage, actually, the most important thing is, like, what stage would you say you guys are in?
Yeah, I'd still say we're in an aggressive growth stage. We have about 15 employees. And so our growth is organic. We don't have any funding, which holds us back from stellar growth. But at the same time, I feel like it's manageable growth. We're able to handle more and more customers. And again, we implement technology ourselves. So, if we're not able to scale our business without scaling employees, it's not really, how a software company is designed. So I say we're still in a growth mode, because we're still investing a lot into the technology, into the people, into the infrastructure, and in every day, we're looking for that next hire. We're looking for new talent, and to help us grow to that next level.
Okay. And what would you say are the top 2 or 3 things that are on your leaders list? Because this, what we love about trying to do this on the show is we don't just look for people who pontificate. We look for people who are in the throes of doing the work. And so clearly you've been through this several times. So if you're in aggressive growth mode, what are the things that are top priorities? You already mentioned automation, right? I mean, that's always, that's constant.
Absolutely. It's everything from automation. Internally, we're systemizing different processes and just trying to make that as automated and repeatable as possible. So that's key. As we look outside of our company, there's some great technologies that are coming to the market for us to be able to integrate into our current platform. So, as a software company, yes, you release a product and it goes through a cycle of growth and adoption and maturity, and then maintenance. We're in our 5th cycle of new products that we're bringing to market. And so that to us it just causes, it's almost like a mini company within our company every time we release a product, because it's going through its own cycle. It's got its own marketing, it's got its own pricing, it's got its own onboarding and implementation. So it goes, each of these products has its own curve. So it's never ending. So as you're looking at a company like us, say, well, it's, is it a startup company? Is it not? I feel like every time we release our new product, I feel like we're in startup, because yes, we have a great customer base and we grow that customer base, but it's a balance of taking care of our customers as well as trying to acquire new customers as quick as possible without breaking our company, because that's the other side. Success kills. So
you're right, Hoyt, and I think that's really interesting. Let's talk a little bit about, like, your growth stage, how you got to that, And how do you balance so like there's this whole issue of, fires, foundation, and future. Like, where am I
Right.
focused right now,
Yeah.
right? And there's always a balance of all three. But how do you manage that difference between the fires that are inevitable and are going to pop up versus, foundational work or, the future projects?
Yeah, I feel like it's a daily, if not weekly, challenge that we fight. Truth be told, the people within the company are, everybody says it. Everybody says, "Oh, our most valuable asset are people," and there's a lot of truth to that because you really can only function as a company from a strength perspective, as much as your employees can basically kind of bend and flex to what's happening. So the fires, if you will, at the same time, putting a foundation together. And it really does come back to the talent that's around us. I like to say that, it's a balance between the A players that we have on our team, which everybody has to be an A player for us to perform at the level we are as an individual, but also as thinking forward to creating that foundation to build on. It's just unique skill sets that it's really, really hard to find. It's almost like finding these unicorns, but now I feel like I have, there's a whole group of unicorns here, and we've been working together for a long time, and that shows in how quick we can turn products out and how quick our release cycles are. Yeah.
I would bet you were talking about every time you bring out a new product, that's like a sub company. And I would imagine that you guys have gotten really, really good at the process related to rolling out a new product, right?
Well, I'd like to say yes, but truth be told, it's really a challenge. Every product has its own new quirk, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I think that not only the ideation behind the new products, executing and get it delivered, and then going through the tight iterations to make it better and better. We're getting every product we get a little bit better for sure, but it's I wish I wish I could say I had it figured out, but truth be told, it's a lot. We don't have all the pieces and parts to make it as smooth as I'd love it to be, but that's still part of the fun of it all.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate your candor. Because that's the thing is we talk to some people and they go, "Oh, everything's just perfect," and it's like, okay, well, let's come back to reality because it's never perfect. And but that's interesting. So your co-founder, do you have other folks on your leadership team, or is it you two and the rest of the execution operations team, or how's that work?
Yeah, so our board is not only myself and the co-founder, but we have our CFOs on the board as well, and then we have some industry advisors on our board, and so
Nice.
that helps us give their customers as well. So they're really big customers, so they don't have they're not technologists, but they're giving input, and again, that to us is the key to success, is listening to our customers and giving them a really strong voice while also keeping the balance of our direction of who we are and not let them take us off course. So there's things we have to say no to a lot, but inputting into our current, giving us feedback in our current product suite, and even ideas for enhancements or new products. We're always listening to the marketplace because if we do that, we feel like that success isn't too far behind.
Hoyt, that is so smart to put together what I would call a client advisory board. Um, when did you do that in your growth stage? Like, at what point did you do that?
Yeah, we did in the beginning. So that was when our company first came together, because we said there's key businesses and technologies that we need insight into more than just outside looking in. We need insider insight into those technologies, and we need partners. We call them customer partners. And so we do have a group of about 12 that not all of them sit on our board, but we have 12 different companies all over the country that participate in that, in helping us understand, what's important in their world, what they see trends in their marketplaces, and what's going to make a difference in their company. And so trying to align our products with the goals, strategic and goals of our customers, that's key to us. Again, continued momentum, because as soon as we stop, I mean, we have big guys all around us, and I feel like if we stop, we're going to get stepped on. So we got to keep moving and stay nimble.
Yeah. So how this is a little tactical, but a lot of people do not have those customer boards, right? And I mean, they're so valuable to have in place. How often do you meet with them, and who manages that group for you?
Yeah, and
Because that's a whole job unto itself, right?
I always say at Alanna, if you're not wearing 3 hats, you should be. And so
you should go buy new hats, right?
that's
Got it.
right. So most everybody at Alanna has multiple roles, but I try to meet with those customers on a quarterly basis, whether face to face. There's a lot of our industry conferences that we see our customers at, and so every opportunity we get to have face-to-face time with our customers, we take advantage of that. So it really falls into my lap, and I enjoy it. It's probably one of the most rewarding parts of my business, or of what I get to do, is to see the excitement of our customers when we're rolling out new products. Sometimes there's parts where they're not as excited and they're struggling and their expectations are not exactly what we're delivering. So given opportunity, we build relationship to where there's a channel that they can communicate, and that they're not on an island or just screaming into a void that things are not as they expected. And so being sensitive to that, to say, look, we get that, we want to work through it with you. And it goes a long way in our industry, in the title industry. Relationships matter, the most. And our customer base is so willing to work with us and have a ton of patience to weather through different product life cycles. So I always ask our customers, are you up for a bumpy road to get an early advantages of these new products, or do you want the smooth road? Do you not want to go through that process with us? And different customers have different choices on that. They want either a polished product, or they're willing to be those pioneers to be able to run ahead and take advantage of what we have.
That's super interesting, Hoyt. Do you segment your customer base by that kind of, people who are future forward, and then, you have a laggard group that you bring in later? Do you think of them that way?
I let them self-select. And so they're absolutely, I get the hand raisers, and it depends on the technologies that we're working on. So we're working on one technology that's really focused on data extraction off of contracts. And so there's a certain group that is very interested in that. They see the ROI, they know how much it costs, and it's a clear path between point A to point B to realize the value that product offers. There's other products they're a little bit more, it's harder to measure that ROI. And so therefore, some of those customers don't quite see how they can benefit from those products, because it's a much more squishy ROI, more of a gut feel. And so again, it really comes back to we're offering about 5 different products right now. So each of those products has its own fan base, if you will. Some of those overlap, but it's one of those. It's a complex Venn diagram of all the crossovers.
Well, so that's funny that you bring that up, right? Because, there's an argument for simplicity in business. The simpler, the more elegant, the more clean the answer is, the easier it is to scale and grow.
Yes.
5 different products, services, that adds to complexity. How do you guys manage that internally?
It does. Really, it's a special. We have specialists for each of those areas, and so each of those specialists will have a team that will build out underneath them in a future state. So that's what we find is customers are coming to us. They hear all the buzz about AI, but the huge challenge is they don't know how or the path to implement AI is not very clear, and so they need a trusted vendor. They need specialists in that area, because it's really a blurry line. You know, you can do all these things with AI. It's like, yes, or I can pull up any of the AI tools and do something pretty amazing, and that's great. But what does that look like within your business? Yeah,
Yeah,
how do you?
one time, right?
Yes,
It's
one
not,
time.
that's what I see as the challenge is I have we do a ton in AI and we help
Mhm.
clients do that. But there's a big difference between using it as a thought partner or having it script an email for you or something like that, and then having it automate systems and be consistent and something you can count on to
Right.
deliver. And so let's shift this a little bit and
Okay.
talk. Thank you for sharing a lot about Alanna AI, but now let's talk a little bit about the organizations that want to absorb
Hmm.
AI, right? And they're I love your perspective on customer service too. So let's just talk about if I'm a CEO, I'm running a services firm.
Hmm.
If I want to start to think about implementing AI, let's get past the, how would I get started? And I think everybody knows like some basics on how to get started. But if I wanted to implement this as a real customer service path, how would I use it as a tool and start thinking about it that way?
Yeah, I think there's either the build, buy, or
Right?
partner mode. I think that's where most people will fall into that category. The
Mhm.
really big guys will want to build and own their own. The middle tier, if you will, are more open to buying or renting, if you will,
Mhm.
and renting that expertise, so they don't have to take on the full burden of some of these costs. Yeah, and so that's where in these services firms that building that skill set, having those resources, deep, resources with deep talent that can really get your projects executed on quickly. Because it's always I love this example. It's could you do it or should you do it? And just had a conversation with the internal guy here that we were talking about doing creating something, and I had to come back to him. I said, could you do it? And he's like, oh yeah, I could do it. And I said, but should you do it? And the concept between the two is that it's going to take him probably a couple days to put this together.
Yeah.
Or if I hire a specialist, it'll take less than an hour, maybe two. So,
Right.
so it's the same thing with the AI scenario, is that it's very alluring to think, oh, well, I can just throw a resource on this and say, make this happen. And you get that 80% hit pretty quick, but that last 20% is really, really tough. And yeah, it just really takes people that this is all they do all day, every day. And it's a small snag that will eat up just tons of time. And it can be something that seems is pretty innocuous. And you go, oh, I didn't expect that. And now we're 2 weeks derailed because we're chasing down these little rabbits. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like Elon Musk's, comment about the engineer's job is to not spend time optimizing something that shouldn't exist.
Yeah. Yes,
And
exactly.
yeah, and then the other thing that I have always found that's really valuable is just this constant evaluation of ROI to LOE. What is
Yes.
the return versus the level of effort that I'm going to put into
Yes.
that?
Yes.
And that's really, really smart. So that's a smart place to start. Um, what about for organizations that are, and SMBs are typically what we're looking at, 500 employees
Mhm.
and viewers, the category. And so for organizations like that, specifically for customer service, does your organization start with what good customer service looks like first? Or do you start with the technology to optimize what
Oh
they have?
man. Yeah. Yeah. Love the way you put that, because there's in the executive minds, I think there's two different ideas. One idea is, well, there's all these shiny new tools out there that have AI and show some pretty exciting stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's fantastic. But to your point, um, without solid processes, without a good foundation, um, great tools are just are really gonna they're gonna struggle because you're automating processes that aren't well defined. And we see that success case in all of our customer base. They come to the table with well-defined processes and they know what they want to optimize.
It's like
The
that.
project goes smooth, very smooth. Somebody comes to the table and says, we want AI because we heard it's the greatest thing. And it's like, great, let's talk about your processes. And they say, well, we don't have our processes documented. Or if they are, they're very, very complex. And it's like, okay, we have to cut through the weeds here to figure out, what does automation really look like to you? But it's like we rolled out an analytics product, and the analytics product is AI driven, looking at some private data and then marrying up some of the big AI models with that internal production data. And the key there was that we quickly saw, as you're running these analytics reports, not even reports, but really just we were querying it. It's one of the new things that we're rolling out, which is this ask your data anything. And so having AI be able to craft the query, if you will, to go after and get that data in a unique way. That to me is so exciting because it's over and above reporting. It's a give me this information and let me ask another question and let me ask another question. And that's all your private data. And to me, that's super exciting. Well, what starts to show through really quick is that as you start asking those questions and maybe you have some data to back it up, and then all of a sudden the answers aren't matching up. And when you start digging in, you realize, oh, the data is captured in these different ways. And we have to account for these different types of anomalies, if you will, or inconsistencies in how the data was put in initially. And so, coming back to your original question there, without good processes, without standard inputs on the front end, you're not gonna do well at trying to automate something bad. You're just gonna do it faster. And
does Alanna do that? Yeah, no, I get it. Does Alanna do that, or do you partner with someone to go figure out the processes, and then we'll be right in behind with the tools? Or how do you guys go about fixing that? Because that's a fairly complex issue, right? I mean, a lot of organizations, I'm just betting, a lot of organizations that you deal with, like I would bet that probably at least a third of them need some real help in that area, right?
Yeah. And you're right. The curve is from the small guys to the medium-sized guys to the large guys. They're scattered all over that spectrum. And it's interesting where they find these different customers will find success, and then they just keep cranking that wheel. And even if that's a square wheel, they just keep cranking it because that's where they've always seen success. And so we do partner with consultants in the industry because, BPO is not our strong suit, but there's industry consultants that's what they do. And and they're fantastic at it. So we have those partnerships, and when a customer we see struggling, we'll try to link them up with those consultants because we know it's going to help them in the long run. Outside of making our product better, it's going to make their business better as a whole. We just get to we're part of the byproduct of them doing business better and smoother. And so, and then again, we get to realize a lot of benefits as we implement our technology. And so it's a holistic approach versus let me just satisfy our needs with our customer and ignore everything else. And that's not good for anyone.
Yeah, well, and that's the sign of a good long-term relationship. That's what I like about you and Alanna and the way you do business is you recognize that this isn't like a transactional one-time thing, right? I think so. You work in an industry where the title industry it's not going to be the super advanced first mover, from a technology perspective, and so the ability for you to really help foundationally grow those companies. I mean, you get the win for bringing the other person in, right? Or the other group.
Absolutely. And that I always tell everybody, you do your business, you're an expert in your business. We're an expert in what we do. And together we can do a lot of great things. And it's like, we're not going to go in and tell somebody how to run their title company. So But I have an expectation that they're going to do their best to run their title company. And then we're going to take it to the next level through automation and applying AI and virtual assistants for customer service and automating some of the, just blows in our industry. It's so, it's really archaic in a lot of ways. And so there's so many opportunities for technology to help. And so it's just a matter of, finding those areas, specializing in them, and again, giving customers products and supporting those customers and supporting the products through many years.
Well, you guys, I mean, it's great because it's really transformational. I mean, what you're doing with your clients is literally technology would transform their businesses. One of the things that I consistently hear, though, is if I'm doing automation, I'm using AI, how do I not lose the humanity in the experience?
I love
Right?
that.
So talk a little bit about how you help people through bringing in that technology, but still making that human connection.
And I'll tell you what, you're hitting on one of the first objections that we started hearing in 2019 when we rolled our product out, because we had a virtual assistant, and it's this again, Siri-like interface to otherwise protected production data. And so so this isn't just a chat bot that sits on your website and tells you what time they're open in their location. This is actually a deep-rooted product that can do what a human does faster than a human does, looking up a file, grabbing some information, grabbing a document, and sending it to the requester, all via text message. So this is extremely fast, 24/7 available, no logins, no portals, just simply texting Alanna, and it gets all this information. Well, that it's super exciting to provide that service to customers, but their first thing is we're going to lose the connection with the people that matter. And so what it's just a fear. It's I love one of the industry guys that
Sometimes an irrational fear,
it's
right?
irrational. Well, it's a pond that's a mile wide and an inch deep. So that's what fear is what we look at it. Is like we're just looking at water and we don't, again, it's not deep, but it's a mile wide. So it really is intimidating. And so that fear factor exists. But what it challenges people to do is rethink what they're doing. And that to me is the biggest kind of revolutionary way of compartmentalizing that thought process. So answering every phone call, how does that matter? And when you start drilling into that, it's like, well, what are the contents of the phone call? Oh, the contents are we get the same question, 10 times, 20 times, 30 times a day. It's like, great. Did you build any relationship during that call? Probably not. It was transactional, versus an outbound call of, hey, I'm checking in on the last project we did with you guys and want to make sure it was going well. That's relational. And that's what everybody needs more time to do. And so that's once people realize that not all work is productive work and they can segment productive work versus busy work, if you will, non-productive work, or like things like rekeying and doing data entry over and over again. Again, answering the same questions over and over again. Things like that they're not great uses of time. And in our industry, they found that they can outsource these processes to, basically for a lower cost. But there's certain downsides to outsourcing different processes. And so what we look for AI is AI can be that outsourced agent, if you will. And
Interesting. So you look at, when you come into an organization, you look for anything that they are outsourcing. You could literally just apply AI. That's a fairly common process? Okay, that makes sense. And so in that situation, do you recommend that companies go through pilots, or that they spend more time thinking about this from a long-term perspective? How do you balance the get started versus change your business?
Yeah, it depends on the size, really. Okay. Larger organizations, they want to see a proof of concept, a pilot project upfront, especially some different core processes. They need to see how it's going to behave in different scenarios. I'm thinking more about like our our new order entry process, taking a residential contract and pulling all that data and creating a brand new contract. That's at the first blush is a pretty easy process, but the 15 steps after you get the data out of the contract are the complicated business process flow, what happens next type thing. And so they want to see that in bigger organizations before they just unleash Alanna on all their work. But we have other customers that are really comfortable with it. And Alanna is the first touch point, and it's monitoring inbox, and it processes every email that comes through. So, that's super exciting, but that shows a lot of trust in the technology. And so that's really at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is build that trust. And each of our products have a different adoption life cycle. Some you can just see it immediately. When you're communicating next steps automatically and you're given information, query information, like where's my closing, you give that information just instantaneously. What it does is it reduces your phone calls. It reduces your emails, because people are up to date. When people have information, they don't ask questions. So, and in today's world, communications are just skyrocketing. And the reason that communications continue to skyrocket is really ambiguity in my mind, is that if you have questions in your mind and you can't get a quick and easy answer, then you got to go to that next level. You got to talk to somebody. You got to, you gotta connect with the human, and which makes sense. But and that's the part I was a little bit shocked about, was companies that did track their call logs. They implemented our product and saw a 30% reduction in calls, and they attributed it to more information, timely information in the customer's hands that reduced questions. And so you think about that in an SMB. If I walk in the door and say 30% of your customer service is going to go down based upon this technology, most people jump at that. And I always joke.
And your customer sat is probably going to go up.
Yes, and because everybody gets their answers when they need it, and you're not burning out your people on the other side. Because that's the other thing, is you want exceptional customer service, and we talked about it. People are a key component of that, but you got to watch out for burnout. When you have people always on their phone waiting to deliver, that customer service, and now it's 24/7. It feels like now you have people that can't go on vacation, or they go on vacation, but they're glued to their phones, or they do go on vacation, then they don't answer their phones. And so it's a double-edged sword, is that you're burning out your employee, or somebody's upset because they're not getting instantaneous answers because Susie's on vacation at the beach with a Mai Tai in her hand.
As well Susie should be.
She should be. The humanity component, it's our biggest challenge at this point, but it's just rethinking what we're doing. And I think people are now getting to a point to where they can discern the difference between what's a human interaction and what should be automated. And that's a lot of times, that's
an interesting point. So it's almost at this stage, I would argue that customers are getting to a point where they understand the difference in some cases and would prefer. So that's like the self-checkout at retail, right? Where everybody said, who would do that? And I'm still blown away that, like, I'll see some lines at the grocery store and you go, there's a longer line for the self-checkout, and I'm like, you could go right here and get checked out. So there's certain things where people are going to self-select, but I think that's the interesting thing, is customer service. I would imagine you have to recognize that difference and start to introduce, how do you serve your brand by actually automating and giving more immediate, but it may be less personalized, or it may be less human, but it is highly personalized and fast. So there's that balance.
And it really comes back to, it's generational. And in our world, it's market based. So there's certain markets that have a higher understanding of technology and want to interact that way, versus other markets that it comes back down to freedom of choice. You really want to give customers, you walk into a store, as you mentioned, the self-checkout. You don't want to go to a store where it's only self-checkout, or you don't want to go to a store that it's only, cash registers. You really want to be able to, again, self-select. And it depends on the generation. True. Some people want that cashier person interaction. And some people are like, I really don't want to talk to one more person today. I'm going to check it out myself. And so
I got 50 items and I'm still not going through there.
Well, but I think that's where businesses are at today. They used to be at the concept of, do I have phone support? Do I have email support? And that was a thing. And then it's like, do I have web support? Do I have a web chat? Do I have, that website, self-service portals? That was a thing in the 80s, 90s, coming into 2000. And now we're not only on the virtual assistant to where like you check into a hotel and you have a virtual assistant that you can chat with to get more towels or anything else you need, which is fantastic. Great customer service. But now we're getting into the next level, which is voice AI. That's getting really good. Back in the 90s, I think we talked about it. You call into American Airlines and you're trying to navigate that IVR system. It's just like, oh, it's just so horrible. And all you're doing is scream an agent into the phone every time.
Yeah.
But now it's so much better. And so, there's platforms out there that I would suggest any SMB that's looking to implement AI is to look at platforms that are delivering solutions, innovative solutions in this space. I'd give Twilio a plug because I see Twilio as being a leader in this space. They have some technology that they're integrating the telephone communication with AI and creating services along those lines. And then as a small company, we can implement those services and create a specialized service for our customer base. So I think that's where a lot of companies need to focus, is a true partner in this space that's going to give them the level of service and the technology that they need.
Hoyt, I would tell our listeners, I would recommend companies like Alanna AI, because you brought this up earlier, this balance between ROI to return versus level of effort. And you say, I can have that done in 2 hours. You have to have the relationship where you can call someone and say, I need that in 2 hours, right? Because otherwise the partner selection process takes longer than just executing it. So the more and with the pace of change, this is the other recommendation I would offer our listeners, and I'm sure you would agree with this. There's just so much changing. Twilio is a great example right now, but tomorrow there's going to be 4 other options where they're going to move at this pace and change, and there's going to be great opportunities to take advantage of those new technologies. You got to be able to move at that pace.
Absolutely.
And that's not your job, right? So that's where somebody like you, and your firm are such a great partner, specifically the title industry. I mean, that organization, that industry needs somebody to be able to just call and go, let's just fix this.
and we love that. I mean, again, it gives us maybe we have a hero complex. I'm not sure, but
Throw the cape on, baby.
we love it. We love it. And you're right. Because again, everybody specializes in what they do. And I don't suggest companies that specialize in one thing become software companies. It's a unique skill set, and it's one that I continue to my business partner and I would continue to hone in on, which is being able to quickly adapt bleeding edge technology into usable technology in the industry. And always saying, you've probably heard it as well, is that nobody wants to know how the sausage is made. They just want it to taste good.
Right.
And so that's what we do. We make the sausage and it tastes good. So we just want the easy button for them to press, and then we'll do all the complex stuff on the back end, because really nobody cares.
Right. Well, and that's the beauty of an organization your size too, right? I mean, you can work in that boutique way if you have a relationship. I would imagine you guys have a challenge if it is pop-up transactional every once in a while. That's really hard, right? So that's part of the selection process also, right? What do you want, and what does the the client want, and are you a good match?
Yes.
So Hoyt, let me ask you this. This has all been so valuable, and I know that everybody who's listening to this is starting to understand, how can I think differently about customer service? which I would refer to as human assisted technology.
love
Like,
that.
that's
Love that.
that's
Yeah.
the difference. And then how can I start to implement AI and really start to look at automation? So
Yeah.
if I were in that mindset and I decided that, you know what, I'm going to get through my quarterly rocks, my short-term objectives, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to get through that, but then I'm going to put this into my next cycle. What would you recommend they put on their leaders list today?
Yeah. Again, from my viewpoint, the technology partners is the key. Is picking a
So
technology
find a
partner.
partner.
Find a partner that specializes in it. If that's not a viable option, then it's dedicate a resource to lead up a team because it takes that much attention. And I always caution, it's not the first iteration of a solution, it's the maintenance of the solution and the growing of the solution after your first iteration. So in the
That's
first
great.
blush, you can get a lot done. We can jump into Chat GPT and we can create a project and do some whiz bang things. But the maintenance of that over and over again, if you don't have people that are responsible for carrying and feeding, if you will, it's going to die, or it's going to come outdated, or it's not going to deliver what you wanted it to. And it's going to die on the vine. And so adoption is always in our mind, first and foremost, of creating a smooth path to adoption. And again, if you're focused on relationships as your business, as any business should be, in my opinion, you don't want to, create another focus on the technology side that's going to take you away from your core business. And so that to me is, it's really key to be prepared. And so if a partnership doesn't make sense, then to make sure you're dedicating some really smart resources and relational type resources that can translate between business needs and technology to solve those issues.
Man, Hoyt, that's such good advice. When we talk about, how I was talking about, fires, foundation, and
Yeah.
future. When you move fires or something, they're just immediate, right? You got to
Yeah.
make it go away.
Yeah.
But you look for the root cause, and there's a whole approach there. But when we talk about foundation, we always tell everybody, if you're going to start any kind of an initiative, there should be some research, then you plan, then you launch, but you always have to think about optimizing.
Yeah.
And that sets up the next pilot or sets up the next stage of the project. And so that's one thing I would ask everybody to think about is find your partner, but be thoughtful about how you execute those programs as well, and do the research, plan, launch, optimize. Have that partner there that you can keep improving the work.
Yes. Yeah. To me, that's the biggest, I'm giving a speech in New York in a few weeks, and it's really the topic that we're talking about is, after the demos and after all the shiny things happen, like what do we need to watch out for? And the implementation process of software is always a gotcha if you're not quite prepared from dedicating resources or in time and effort, and again, being able to keep pace with what's coming. So entering into these relationships with eyes wide open. So understanding things.
So I love that. So find a partner. Don't think only about the first stage of the project. Anything else that you'd give them, like that we want to put on the pilot project? What about think about your processes.
Sure.
Actually map your processes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think one of the key things is to when we work with customers, we try to set expectations, conservative expectations. And I think that's one thing, anytime you're running a pilot, you need to look at what's success. How do we measure success? What does it look like? How do we know we made it? How do we know we missed it? And how does that align with expectations? And as we talk with our customers, we always have to do better at marrying up what we think and making sure that our customers understand that level of expectation. Because if that's misaligned, we're going to get to the end of the pilot. Nobody's going to agree. Are we successful or are we not? Because, they might have our customer might say, well, we're expecting 100% success rate. And it's like, well, that's unrealistic. In the AI world, 100% is like, I don't, if people are hitting 100%, I'd love to know it. So
Right.
love to know
Well,
how
not only
they're
that,
doing
but you're not testing anymore, right? If you're hitting 100%, you're not testing.
No,
You're stabilizing, you're optimizing,
That's
whatever term you want to call.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great, Hoyt. I'll tell you, this has been so fantastic. I think what we all learned here today is that Hoyt and Alanna AI ought to be on your leaders list as somebody to talk to. So we'll put your information in the readers notes or listener notes, and I'm sure anybody that just has questions can reach out. You're very accepting, friendly
Absolutely.
guy, so highly recommended for everybody, and want to thank you for being on the leaders list.
Well, again, thank you so much for reaching out, and it's been a pleasure talking with you. And I'm really excited about where we're headed in the next 5 years. So, yeah, we should circle back up in 3 to 4 and see
Count on it.
where we're
Count
at.
on it. All right.
That'd be good.
Thanks again, Hoyt.
All right.